ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers has more on tonight's speech.
The president's expected to outline what he sees as his accomplishments over.
And good morning and welcome to the video live stream for the WSJM Morning Show. It's Wednesday, January 15th. It's 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. Here in the studio with me this morning is Paul Kelm. Good morning, Paul. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I ask this of many of my guests, and sometimes I guess, but I can't read you yet. Are you a morning person?
So.
So.
I mean, I do get up at a normal time. I don't tend to sleep in. So,
What is a normal time for getting up for you?
Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, like without an alarm.
Oh man, that's like 4 hours into my day.
Well, maybe for you, but like if you're comparing it to like this
That's
day
true.
and age generation, I sleep till like noon.
Oh my gosh, right? You are telling the truth, because one of my boys, I've got three boys, Stuart, Samuel, and Sawyer. And Sawyer, he can sleep till noon. Samuel, he can sleep till noon. Stuart, that kid has my genes because he's up at the crack of dawn. I mean, he's yeah. So anyway, it's well, that's good. And so what I would like to do, if we could this hour, is we'll talk a little bit about you, get your background, learn a little bit more about you. Love to learn some more about the volleyball program at St. Joseph High School. And I was excited to learn when I saw your flyer that you've got this clinic coming up in February, and already people are emailing me asking me about it. And so
Awesome.
Word's getting around.
Good.
Word's getting around. You do this. How often and how long has this been going on, this clinic?
So this will be the third year since my reign at St. Joe.
Okay.
It was a thing beforehand with the previous coaching staff. I want to say probably 2010, 11-ish is when it originally came to St. Joe. It used to be at formerly Lake Michigan College, or Catholic, excuse me.
Okay.
Phil Haig was the one that actually brought it to this area. He used to be the coach over there. And when he became a freshman coach at St. Joe, he brought it to St. Joe many years ago. And we had it probably up till maybe 2017 or so. And then it took a hiatus a little bit. Obviously, COVID had a little bit to do with that as well.
Yeah.
And then he reached back out to me about 3 years ago and said, "Hey, you interested in bringing us back to St. Joe?" And I said, "Absolutely, let's do it."
Okay, cool. And people seem to appreciate it and like it, and I love that it's here. So, and then the thing that it culminates with is a big volleyball match at the end of it between Notre Dame and the Spartans, right?
Yep. At the end of the evening is a match between those two schools, and usually it's a pretty big turnout, and that's usually a pretty good match too.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about the clinic. We'll talk more about you and volleyball and everything else. Anything else you want to cover today?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good enough. All right, Paul Kelm, he's the coach of the boys high school, soon-to-be varsity volleyball team. We'll talk about that transition that's coming up here in a couple of minutes right here on the WSJM Morning Show. I want to say good morning to our viewers who we have already. If you have any questions or comments for either me or Paul, or just insights that you want to provide, we'll look forward to that. But boys volleyball officially becoming a high school varsity sport in Michigan, all across the state, beginning in the 25-26 school year. So we'll talk about that coming up next right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
They're called a massive Russian missile strike.
Ukraine's energy minister saying on social media that preventative measures involving the distribution system were also in force. Over the last 3 years, Russia has repeatedly tried to weaponize winter. Ukrainian President Zelensky, meanwhile, says he held further discussions with French President Emmanuel Macron about the possibility of Western troops deploying to Ukraine to safeguard any possible future peace deal.
That's ABC's Inez de la Quatera at the Foreign Desk. There's a new effort to limit airport drinking. Irish carrier Ryanair leading the way. The airline calling for a 2-drink limit for passengers at European airports. The proposal follows drunken behavior by some on a flight. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax Relief Helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
Your loved one has finally popped the question. And now you got a few questions of your own. From choosing the perfect venue to selecting the right music, photographer, and everything in between. Planning your big day can feel overwhelming, but don't worry. All the answers you need are at the 39th Annual Michiana Wedding Expo. This Sunday, January 19th from noon to 4 p.m. Presented by Burns Rental Special Events and Midwest Family. The #1 premier wedding event brings together 2 floors of wedding professionals, like Hotel Elkhart, offering a one-night stay giveaway, all under one roof at Corbett Family Hall's Downs Ballroom at the University of Notre Dame. Admission is free. Simply pre-register online at MichianaWeddingExpo.com and come ready to shop the Bride-to-Bride sales event for new and gently used wedding items. Bring your loved ones and grab a drink while you discover everything you need to create a memorable celebration. Get pre-registered to attend at MichianaWeddingExpo.com.
From the Pat Moody Studios, this is News Talk Sports 94.9. WSJM FM Benton Harbor, St. Joseph. Depend on us. WSJM News now. Team coverage from the WSJM newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. It's the 15th of January. I'm Ken Lundberg. WSJM Morning Show continues. We've got news in a moment. Just a quick check of temperatures outside right now. 18 degrees in Benton Harbor. The feels like, however, is around 8. In St. Joseph, we have 20 degrees, 21 in South Haven, New Buffalo, 12 degrees. Feels like single digits there as well. Forecast for today, mostly sunny, some snow flurries possible. Nothing like what we had yesterday, supposedly. The southwest winds are going to continue, though, 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then we have increasing clouds with a good chance of snow coming up overnight. The low overnight is going to be around 12 degrees. Some of the news that we're following from the WSJM newsroom. St. Joseph City commissioners have signed off on a zoning update, an ordinance update for the Curious Kids Museum so they can move into their new home. Curious Kids announced back in October it's seeking to purchase the home of the Heritage Museum and Cultural Center. Speaking to commissioners this week, St. Joseph Community Development Director Kristen Gunderson said the Planning Commission has determined that Curious Kids, as a medium heavy-use social institution, would not be allowed in the current zoning area of the Heritage Museum. Therefore, they had to do some updates.
Curious Kids is looking at purchasing a building that's in the COA, Commercial Office District, to expand their event or projects that they have available. And in reviewing the zoning ordinance, we concluded that the use was not allowed. It was an expansion of what was there previously. The
Curious Kids Museum asked that the ordinance be updated to allow it to occupy the new space. Commissioners saw a few problems with the request. Commissioner Michelle Binkley said she saw no downside to the change. Commissioner Tess Ulrey said she wants to be hospitable to institutions like Curious Kids Museum. So the city commission signed off on the zoning change with the first reading of the ordinance amendment. Wayfinding signs to direct visitors to key attractions in downtown St. Joseph could be in place by Memorial Day this year, following action this week by the St. Joe City Commission. Speaking at Monday's meeting, City Manager Emily Hackworth said the city worked with Corbin Design Services back in 2023 to design the signage.
They developed what I think are lovely designs for the downtown as well as for other key destinations throughout the city.
There are welcome signs, municipal ID signs, vehicular signage, pedestrian signs, and kiosks all slated to be installed around the community. Hackworth said the city sought bids to manufacture and install the signs last month, and Valley City Sign Company of Comstock Park has come back with a preferred offer of about $298,000. Commissioners approved the bid on Monday, so work can get started on the new signage soon. Area Congressman Tim Walberg is expecting plenty of spending discussions in Washington, D.C. in the coming weeks. With a new Congress and a new president coming in, he says job number one will be spending cuts. He believes much of it needs to be done to prepare for President Donald Trump.
And that's what we're talking about, that we need to get a number of things hopefully done even before President Trump takes office or very, very shortly after. We have to have a top line for our budget. Reconciliation we've been working on to reduce unnecessary spending to start putting ourselves back in line and on track.
Walberg says the debt ceiling is another thing to be discussed. President-elect Trump has called for it to be eliminated at least for a short period of time.
Take that off the table, raise the debt ceiling for 4 years so we don't have to worry about that. Constitutionally, we're supposed to pay our debt anyway, so the only reason this debt ceiling vote has come in is because of politics.
Walberg says if Republicans Republicans in Congress handle things right through a reconciliation process, then 60 votes won't be needed in the Senate to carry out some major spending cuts. In his own role as chairman of the House Committee on Education and Workforce, he says he's already talking with House leaders about programs that could be cut in the Department of Education and the Department of Labor. Wahlberg is also a member now of the House Committee on Natural Resources. In that role, he says he'll be helping to look into the causes of the California wildfires. He says so far it looks like bad decisions with forest and water management contributed to that crisis. And one more story. The Berrien County Road Department has reopened one South County road while another remains closed for a culvert replacement project. Department spokesperson Audrey Boone tells us a stretch of Log Cabin Road that closed on November 21st will stay closed for a little while longer.
So that still remains closed to traffic between Kaiser Road and Warren Woods Road. Pardee, which closed at the same time, is open now for traffic.
Pardee Road was also closed between Kaiser and Warren Woods, also for a culvert replacement. Boone says having Pardee back open will make Log Cabin Road detour that area easier for drivers. She says the work on Log Cabin Road remains on track.
So we do hope that Log Cabin Road will reopen soon. We are just waiting on some final grading, making sure that guardrail is in place before we open that for vehicle traffic.
Boone says both of those roads will have to be closed again in the springtime for new culverts to be paved. For now, with Pardee Road back open, she says drivers taking a detour around the Log Cabin Road construction can use Pardee instead of going all the way to Cleveland Avenue. That's a look at some of the news that we're covering in the WSJM newsroom. We have more. We'll be talking about it at 7:30 right here on WSJM, the morning show. We've got sports up next with Dave Wolf. But right now, we want to say a quick hello to our guest in studio. We'll begin the interview with Paul Kelm in just a moment here. But Paul is the coach of the soon-to-be varsity boys volleyball team at St. Joseph High School. Good morning, Paul. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you coming in.
Good morning.
And tell us a quick road report before we get in. How were the roads from where you came from? Where'd you come from?
St. Joe.
Okay.
Not bad. I mean, side roads are still a little bit slick, but main roads for the most part are pretty good.
Okay. And we don't see that changing probably until maybe Friday or something like that. It's going to get a little bit warmer, and then it's going to get real cold next week.
Can't wait.
Looking forward to that. 0 for a high. Yay. Paul, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Hometown, where you been? What are you doing right now?
So I own my own construction business here locally, and I've had that since 2012. So
okay.
Just
what do you build?
Jobs. Mostly a remodeling contractor.
Okay.
Excuse me. I do a lot of bathrooms, kitchens, basements, that kind of thing, but I do a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. I can imagine you're probably always busy.
Yes. Yes. Forced vacations.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay. And then when did you start getting involved with the volleyball program?
So I've actually been in the St. Joe girls program since 2009 in some shape or form or another. I used to be an assistant coach to varsity till about 2017. And then I was a JV coach for 4 years. And now I've been the varsity coach for the girls for the past 3 years. And this will be my third year coaching the boys club team.
Wow. So you coach both of them at the same time?
Different seasons, but
okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Girls in the fall, boys in the spring.
Okay. All right. And so the boys now are going to be varsity starting next school year.
25-26, MHSA has approved it to be a boys sport for the state of Michigan. So we're looking forward to that being an opportunity for boys to help grow the sport of volleyball overall.
That's fantastic. All right. We'll talk more about that with Paul Kelm. He is the coach of both the varsity girls and boys volleyball teams for St. Joseph High School. We'll talk about that and the clinic that's coming up on Saturday, February 8th, right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We'll get back to that interview in just a moment. First, we've got sports with Dave Wolf.
The Detroit Red Wings 7-game win.
All right. We're back on the video live stream with Paul Kelm. He is our guest this morning. So do I have that right? You're the head coach of both the girls and the boys varsity volleyball teams at St. Joseph High School.
Correct.
Okay. How'd the girls do this year?
Pretty good. We went 23-15. We won 2 tournaments, so pretty successful season.
That's awesome. How many players do you have turn out for the team?
We usually keep 12.
Okay.
We actually only had 11 this past year. So yeah.
Yeah. When did you get I know I asked you when you got involved in the volleyball program, but when did you first start playing volleyball? How'd you get involved?
I guess I created a love for it back in high school, like team sports class. They had that as a sport, and I kind of started enjoying it during that class. And then out of high school, just started playing up at the beach. Obviously, it's naturally a good spot to start that, being where we live. And then I went to Grand Valley after 2 years of junior college here, and ended up making their club team at Grand Valley and played there for a couple of years on their club team.
Did you go to the Olympics?
No.
You try?
Not quite that good.
All right. We'll come back and continue this conversation with Paul in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
A few flurries today, but otherwise becoming mostly sunny, and it will be bright but still really cold. High temperatures near 18. Tonight we drop down to 12. We'll see clouds and a chance of snow overnight, and some snow tomorrow as well. High temperatures getting back up around 33 degrees. We'll be in the mid-30s on Friday. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
18 degrees in Benton Harbor, 20 in St. Joseph, 21 degrees in South Haven. The feels like is cooler than that, so dress accordingly. I'm Ken Lundberg, and it is the morning show. We have a special guest in studio this morning, Paul Kelm. He is the head coach of both the girls and the boys St. Joseph High School volleyball teams. And the girls, they're varsity right now. The boys team it's technically a club. And they will become an officially sanctioned varsity team next school year, 25-26. So we're talking with Paul about that. Before we do that, I always love to ask guests to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their background. So you're born and raised locally?
Yeah, born and raised right here in actually Stevensville. Went to Lakeshore High School. Yeah, been here all my life.
How does a Lancer get to be the head coach of the St. Joe high school teams?
Surprisingly or not, there's actually a lot of Lakeshore alumni that are currently coaching at St. Joe. So
look at that.
I guess if you can't beat them, join them. I don't know.
That's excellent. Well, good. Well, thanks for coming on to the WSJM morning show this morning. What got me interested in talking to you was the flyer that you sent around for the Michigan State Men's Volleyball Clinic. Let's start there, and then we'll talk a little bit about the high school volleyball programs, because some interesting developments there with the boys for next school year. But first off, what is this clinic? And if for somebody who knows nothing about it, what is it, who's it for, and how do you get involved?
So Michigan State Men's Club Volleyball team is hosting a clinic here at St. Joe. Basically, it's available to anybody, from adults down to kindergartners. It's just an opportunity for people to either learn the sport if they don't know anything about it, or to grow the sport if you've been involved and you want to get some more opportunities to train and get better. It's there's a 2-hour session with all the guys from the team and their coach, Coach Sante. So it's a good experience.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it sounds like an opportunity that, like you say, no matter what skill level you're at, if you have people who have been playing this for some time and know the game, you can learn some great things.
Oh, for sure. And we've had people a couple of years ago. We actually had some adults that had never played volleyball before they came to the clinic. So
yeah,
it's just an opportunity for them.
Yeah, that's a lot. How is volleyball doing as a sport overall?
It's pretty popular. It's becoming. I know for the boys part of it, it's probably the fastest growing boys sport in the country. And I think overall, even considering the Olympics, it's one of the more popular sports to watch, and I think it's growing exponentially across the nation and the world in that matter as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of the last time I actually played volleyball, but every time the Olympics come around, Summer Olympics, I'm watching volleyball. It's exciting to watch.
Yep, yeah. It's a very popular sport to watch, and it's fun to watch. So
and it's fast paced.
Yeah, especially the guys level indoor. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of rallies. It's just who can hit it the hardest and the fastest.
Can you describe, so for people like me, I don't even remember how many people are supposed to be on the court at one time.
So for indoors, it's 6-on-6. So there's 6 people on the court at a time.
Okay. On each side.
On each side. Yep.
Okay. And do they rotate serve?
You rotate serve. They have positions what they consider like a setter, outside hitters, middles, right side hitters, or opposites, and then usually there's a what we call a defensive specialist or a libero.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. And so the clinic is going to be Saturday, February 8th at St. Joseph High School Fieldhouse. There will be 3 separate volleyball clinics that are held here. What are the differences between those clinics?
So the first one is the boys and adults, kind of one session there, and then the next session would be basically middle school through high school girls.
Okay.
And then the last session is boys and girls, grades K through 6.
Okay, so 10 a.m. is the boys and adults, the boys being grades 7 through 12, 10 a.m. session. 12:30 is for the girls, and this is on February 8th, and then 3 p.m. for the boys and girls, grades K through 6. So the girls, grades 7 through 12, will be 12:30, and then at 3 o'clock, the boys and girls, grades K through 6. Costs, and what do you get for that?
So the cost is $35 a person. You obviously get the opportunity to be in the clinic for the 2 hours. We'll get you a free T-shirt with that you can use for after the match to get autographs signed by some of the players from the match, and you also get a pass into the match between Notre Dame and Michigan State after.
How are those two teams how do they stack up as far as volleyball goes in college?
They're probably top, I would say 25 in club section. I know 2 years ago, Michigan State was, I believe, ranked 3rd in the nation when they came here, and unfortunately got upset by Notre Dame in 5 sets.
Yeah.
But it was a really good match. Michigan State at the time had a 6'9" kid from Germany that
6'9".
Yeah, he was pretty much unstoppable. And then last year, Michigan State dropped off a little bit. Notre Dame was still pretty successful. They ended up winning last year in 3 sets.
Wow.
But Notre Dame's got a 6'5" kid from California who's, I believe, only going to be a junior coming this year.
Wow. Why is height such an advantage?
Well, obviously, you're hitting over basically an 8-foot net. So the higher you can jump or the taller you are, the easier it's going to be to be successful. So,
and that longer wingspan, you can block a lot.
Or even jumping higher.
Okay.
So being athletic would obviously help as well.
6'5" and 6'9". That's incredible. That's good stuff. Okay, and then the men's volleyball match that is slated for Saturday night. It's got doors open at 6:15, and that match is going to begin at 7:15. And the admission is only $5. Am I reading that right?
Correct.
That's great.
We try to keep the cost on even the clinic and the admission to this, because it is a fundraiser for our volleyball at St. Joe. We also want to create the opportunity for kids to participate in like the clinic, and for just like not necessarily the kids to come to the matches, but adults too. I think if you raise the prices too much, it might stir some people away. So we try to keep it kind of easy and simple and affordable.
Yeah, and if you're there for the clinic at all, you get to go in for free. But if you just want to come and watch the match, $5.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, good. If anyone has any questions, do you need anything for that? You need any volunteers, or you got what you need?
For the most part, we got it covered. I've got parents and girls and boys that are gonna help work the match, so we should be all set.
Okay, good. If you want more information on that, you can go to where can they go? You got a website? Facebook, something?
It'll be on our Facebook account.
We'll also post a news story. How about that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then if they need any questions, my name is on my phone number, and my email is on the flyer. So if they have any questions, they can reach out to me as well.
Okay. I'll commit to that right now. We'll post a news story. We'll take snippets from this interview and we'll post a news story. And so if people want more information on how to attend or anything else, we'll put it right there on the WSJM website, WSJM.com. So you can register. There's a QR code and all this other fun stuff. Volleyball in general, you mentioned that, I think about sports that are rising and on the increase. Pickleball comes to mind.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think down in Niles this weekend with their ice festival, they're even having ice pickleball.
That sounds dangerous.
Doesn't it sound dangerous? It sounds really loud. It sounds cold, and it sounds dangerous. You get hit in the face with a snowball or something. But as far as volleyball goes, you mentioned that it's increasingly popular, especially among young men, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today. Is there's a journey that's been going on to make boys volleyball, high school volleyball, a varsity sport in Michigan. Can you explain, kind of set the stage? What happened? How long has volleyball not been a varsity sport for boys?
So here in Michigan, it's never been. an actual sport. Obviously, being next year, being it for MHSAA.
Never been sanctioned, right?
Correct. As far as even it being an opportunity at all, 2018 was kind of the first year some coaches in, I think, Grand Haven area had started what we call a club level opportunity. And I think it started out with 4 teams the very first year, 12 teams in 2019. COVID year, nobody had anything.
Yeah.
And then as of last year, we had, I think, 78 teams across the state.
78. Okay.
And I think there was a threshold that MHSAA wanted to see around 64, 65 before they would consider it to be sanctioned sport.
Okay.
And so it's been in the works. Probably the last 2 years, really, it's been the big push to try to get it to be an actual sport for the boys in high school. And it finally, I guess, is coming to fruition.
How did the discussion begin for St. Joseph?
So back in 2019, I was approached because one of my friends was one of the kind of the co-founders of this club level in Grand Haven, reached out to me and said, "Hey, any interest in starting a boys club team at St. Joe?" And I had reached out to some people, and I don't know that I quite had the interest to do it. And then obviously again, COVID's kind of shut everything down. I didn't really do anything after the initial year after that. And then I kind of was kind of keeping an eye on the growth of it and noticed that it was kind of growing back up again. So I talked to my athletic director, said, "Hey, is this something we can, bring here as a club sport?" And he said, "Sure." So we just posted flyers around the school and sent notifications out. And we had my first year, we had 15 boys, I think.
Wow, that's good turnout.
I think 15 boys the first year. Last year we had 18.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, brought us an opportunity and got involved and got locked into it.
Yeah, that's great. What is what is the difference between a club and a varsity team?
So basically, more or less, is not the state of Michigan doesn't sanction a tournament for like the end of the season tournament. It's all run through the club level. So there's no, I mean, we try to mirror the rules that MHSA had for, eligibility and, training times and when you're allowed to do this and that. And so we've tried to keep it in line with that. So hopeful that if it ever did become an actual sport, that it'd be kind of an easy transition.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good.
Do you miss out on anything when you're a club, or is there an inconsistency, say, in rules or how they're applied or something?
No, we get the same refs that we would have for like the girls. The only difference is as a club, you have to pay it out of your own pocket. The school doesn't pay for it. So there are, we got to pay for our own jerseys. We got to pay for our own travel expenses. So that part of it's more out of pocket.
Nets.
Yep. Well, so the nice thing with like St. Joe is they were, being that that's why you talked to the athletic director first, is that he was okay with using the school equipment and the gym and providing gym time and space. So we actually were able to use the equipment from St. Joe girls program, the nets and the balls and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a good,
But anything you didn't have, when you're a club, it all comes out of your own pocket that way.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, jerseys obviously was the first thing because we didn't have jerseys. So each year we have the boys buy jerseys at a pretty inexpensive cost. I think it's generally about $75 for a set of jerseys for the season. So not too terribly bad.
They've gone up in price since I was in high school.
Oh yeah, everything's gone up in price.
Did you get to design a new jersey?
I probably let the boys do that this year. The first year they just offered kind of a generic kind of style, so we just went with that because we try to keep costs down, like I said, and stuff like that. So, but now that we're then part of this, a clinic and game too is also a fundraiser for the boys and the girls. So, you know, some of the funds from this, hopefully we can use maybe to put towards buying jerseys, or obviously I have to consider it being a high school sport next year. If I can get enough money for it, I can maybe actually buy jerseys that we can keep and reuse every year. Okay.
All right. We're talking with Paul Kelm. He is the coach of the varsity girls volleyball team at St. Joseph High School. And he's also the coach, the head coach for what will soon be the boys varsity high school volleyball team in St. Joseph. We'll talk more with Paul in just a few moments. We'll also ask some construction questions because I love DIY stuff, and you probably hate that when you see that as a contractor. All right.
I've seen my fair share of not so good DIYs.
We'll talk about that and more coming up next on the WSJM Morning Show.
So, you want a free check?
What's wrong with DIY? Just what does it have to be square for? What do I need? What do I need to use nails instead of bolts or something like that?
It's not even just DIY. It's just other contractors in general. You go back after them and you're just like, how did you get away with doing that?
One of the first terms, so I used to live in Washington, D.C., and the houses there are a little bit older in some areas than some of the houses here. And so over that period of time, believe it or not, DIY spans eras. And so one of the terms I learned early on was bootleg. No, jackleg. Jackleg? I can't remember. Anyway, people who pawn themselves off as contractors, people who knew about construction. You'd hire them, they'd show up, they might start the work, they might show up, they might start the work, they'd never finish the work, and if they did, it wasn't square, it wasn't right. But how long have you been in the construction trade?
I've been doing construction ever since just out of high school. Out of high school, I did a part-time construction job while I went to LMC college. So that's kind of where I first started it. Somewhat continued it when I went to Grand Valley. I did the grounds crew, which isn't exactly like it, but we did some construction things there. And then during the summer, I did construction stuff.
What's your favorite part about construction?
I guess for me, because I don't like necessarily specialize in one particular thing, is just the nuances of every day kind of being different, and it's not like repetitive all the time.
Yeah.
So, and it's also good to kind of see the thing that you build and what the final product is.
Yeah. Do you have favorite projects around town that we might recognize?
I mean, just mostly houses is what I work on. So anything that probably is going to stick out to anybody in particular. Most of the stuff I do, unfortunately, is on the inside of the houses. So
that's okay though, this time of year, especially.
Especially this time of year.
Do you have a crew working with you?
I got one other guy that works with me. I'm kind of a smaller outfit.
Okay.
I've got some other buddies that have their own businesses too on bigger projects. We'll kind of help each other out. And
My wife Stephanie and I were watching something. I don't know. We watch. And it's either House Hunters or I don't know. We watch the housing shows all the time, and it seems like it's just this orchestration of the different trades that have to come through, and for a home improvement project, it just seems overwhelming.
There's a lot to it. Yeah, it's not easy to organize that because you're trying to time everything out right, and you hope things go well. But there's always issues you run into. I mean, you open up a wall and suddenly you realize it's not framed correctly, and so now you've got to address that situation before you can close it back up. And
foundation issues.
Oh yeah, I had one of those a couple years ago off Ridgeway down here.
What happened?
This is a 100-year-old house. I mean, it's just naturally had issues. The center beam was sagging quite a bit, so we had to go in there and put more jack posts in there.
Oh man,
kind of push it back up. But I just remember like the outside foundation. I want to say from one side of the kitchen to the other, it was like 1 3/4 inches out of level.
So you could literally put a ball at one end and it would just roll down.
It would roll, yes.
Wow. That's something. I had a house back in DC, and where the stairs were perfectly level. Where the stairs landed, they were perfectly level, but the flooring around the stairs were after the last step had started to sink, and actually at some point between the baseboard and the floor, you could see a gap of about 1 inch.
Yep.
And no idea what the next homeowner did with that.
Happens a lot.
All right. We'll come back and talk more construction talk in just a couple of minutes. We've got Bloomberg Market News on the radio right now. We'll have ABC News coming up next, a check of our local news, our weather and sports, and Michigan News Network. It's all coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
From Keefe, Broyette, and Woods analysts, and is double their rough initial estimate from just a day earlier. Their most optimistic scenario implies insured losses of $25 billion. The crafts and fabric retailer Jo-Ann has filed for bankruptcy again, the second time in less than a year. Jo-Ann says it's seeking court approval to start a sale process for substantially all of its assets, with Gordon Brothers retail partners serving as the so-called stalking horse bidder. The proposed sale would still be subject to higher and better offers. Futures are edging higher this morning. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning, 7:34. I'm Ken Lundberg. I've got a guest in studio, Paul Kelm, who's the coach of the varsity girls volleyball team at St. Joseph High School, and soon to be the varsity coach of the boys, because the volleyball at high school level in Michigan is going to become a sanctioned varsity sport starting in the 25-26 school year. So we'll talk some more about that in just a couple of minutes. For the temperature outside right now, we're looking at 18 degrees in Benton Harbor, 20 in St. Joseph, 21 in South Haven, Dowagiac 13 degrees, New Buffalo 11 degrees. It's cooled off in Buchanan as well. It's 11 degrees in Buchanan, and the feels like is much colder. And just to give you an example, in Buchanan, the feels like temperature right now is 3. So you might want to bundle up if you have that. Some of the news stories that we're following coming up in just a moment after this from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Big speech tonight from the Oval Office as President Biden delivers his farewell address to the nation. Donald Trump's second inauguration will be held on Monday. Today, more of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees will face questions from senators that will decide on their confirmations. In Southern California, another round of strong Santa Ana winds is set for today, raising the risk of more fires. However, ABC Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z says there is relief on the way.
By tomorrow, things really start to settle down. The wind speeds are near calm for Santa Clarita by Friday. You know, the other best part? We're going to get onshore flow by Friday. That means that the humidity is going to bump up, talking 60%. That's going to help so much you might even see a sprinkle by the end of the week in Southern California.
In about an hour, we'll get a snapshot of the economy when the Labor Department releases consumer price index numbers. The expectation is that inflation likely worsened last month due to higher prices for eggs, gas, and used cars. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
WSJM Morning Show continues. Good morning to you. It's Wednesday, January 15th, 7:36 in the morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. Got a guest in studio, Paul Kelm. We'll be talking more with him about some volleyball issues at St. Joseph High School and around the state of Michigan coming up in just a moment. 20 degrees in St. Joseph, 21 in South Haven, and 18 in Benton Harbor. Some of the stories that we'll cover for you at 8 o'clock this morning. Benton Harbor has a new assistant city manager, and it's a familiar face. It's City Clerk Tiffany Moore. She will hold both jobs. It's required for cities across Michigan to have an assistant city manager, just in case the city manager is out. We'll tell you a little bit more about what her role is there and also some of the debate that happened at the Benton Harbor City Council meeting earlier this week. Announced yesterday, State Senator Eric Nesbitt has thrown his hat into the ring for the race for governor. Nesbitt, who's from the Lawton area, currently the Republican leader in the Michigan Senate, and has been rumored as a possible candidate for governor for a few months. He made it official yesterday, so we'll talk with him about his candidacy and what it means. Also, a follow-up to a story that we first brought you yesterday. Hager Township's treasurer unexpectedly turning in her resignation Monday night. They have a new treasurer that's in place, at least temporarily. So we'll talk about those stories and more coming up at 8 o'clock this morning right here on the WSJM Morning Show. It's 7:37. Sports is coming up next with Dave Wolf right after a look at state news.
The Michigan News Network.
I'm Beth Fisher.
Okay, back on the video live stream. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. Here with me this morning is Paul Kelm. He is the coach of the varsity teams for volleyball. We're just going to end it at that at St. Joseph High School because, I mean, you might as well say varsity now for the boys volleyball team because they're playing like varsity, aren't they?
Yeah.
When is their
absolutely.
season?
It is a spring season, so our tryouts will be, I think, about middle of March, and it runs through end of May.
Okay. And so last year you had 18, is that right? And this year, how many are you expecting to turn out?
We have, I believe, 10 that we kind of know for sure are returning.
Okay.
And then we're hopeful we can get a couple more.
Did you graduate a lot of folks last year?
I graduated 9 kids last year. Yeah.
9 kids out of the program?
Yep.
That's half your team, coach.
Yep. Most of them were my starters, so it'll be a little bit of a rebuilding year, but that's
okay. So what is a building year? What does a rebuilding year look like? What are you most concerned about as a volleyball coach?
Well, the biggest thing for like the boys is just because it's so new to them. They haven't had the many years of kind of seasoning to get built up with the technical part of volleyball. So obviously, in general, boys are probably a little more athletic overall and can kind of make up for some things because of that. But technically, the girls are much better. Obviously, like the passing part of it and that kind of stuff. So that's probably the hardest part is just trying to get into more of the technical aspect for them.
Do you mean fundamentals that?
Yeah, fundamentals like the setting and the passing. Because obviously those are the two two biggest parts to it. I mean, everybody wants to hit.
Yeah.
Anybody can hit, but hitting doesn't happen if nobody can pass the ball and nobody can set the ball to you.
Yeah.
So,
Is that what you find yourself mostly telling folks is pass that ball? Do you have any kind of
yeah,
rule
I mean,
like
that's kind
pass
of the
it?
biggest thing that we work on the most is working on the passing. Of course, the boys, even in open gyms, all they want to do is hit and do hitting lines and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, there's more to volleyball than just hitting. So we obviously try to divide some time to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as like the technicals of the game, the rules, obviously you've got to stay within the boundaries. Are you allowed to touch the net?
Nope, not allowed to touch the net.
Zero.
Not allowed to go underneath the net. And there's actually a rotation. So there's what we call overlaps that you have to stay behind certain people and to the side of each other per se. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of mind awareness in that as well, knowing where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be there as the serve happens.
As a new program, something that is just now going to be officially sanctioned for the 25-26 school year, how many schools around the area will join St. Joseph with a varsity team?
Well, right now there's not a lot directly around us. We're the only school down here in Southwest Michigan. I mean, for our conference that we played in the last couple of years, we've had to travel like Kalamazoo area, like Kalamazoo Lennox has been in it, Saugatuck, Fenville, Battle Creek Central. So I believe I saw that Portage Northern and Kalamazoo Central are trying to put teams in this year. So kind of more in line with what we do for high school conference as far as that goes. But it would be nice to kind of get some more of the local schools.
Yeah.
Get some teams involved.
How do you grow those? Are you talking with the other potential coaches?
I mean, yeah, I've talked to some of the other girls coaches and said, hey, I'm interested in starting boys. And I mean, it's a big commitment. Obviously it's 2 seasons at a school, and even doing 1 season, it's a long, 3-month season, and it's a big commitment to do it. And so, and part of that too is being a club sport. You probably aren't getting paid for it. It's more a volunteer kind of thing for that aspect. So, I mean, you gotta more or less really love to coach to do it.
Yeah, I bet. We're talking with Paul Kelm. He is the coach of the varsity girls volleyball team, high school volleyball team at St. Joseph. He's also the coach of the boys team, which will soon be varsity. What else do we need to know about volleyball and the program that you're building at St. Joseph High School?
Just try to get some of the nuances of what the persona of volleyball is. I know when I talk to the boys at the high school, when I'm trying to get them to recruit some more people to do it, obviously it's looked at as a girls' sport. So that's kind of get the,
there's a stigma
nose up
there
at it and like, oh, well, that's a girls' sport. I don't want to play a girls' sport, And
Okay.
it's like, if you ever watch, like for instance, Olympic volleyball, it's not just for girls. It's for everybody.
Have they ever seen the movie Top Gun? Tom Cruise plays volleyball.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it, but they're 2 totally different sports to watch, even the girls and guys. I mean, like I said, the guys aspect is more of the power game. How hard can you hit it? All that kind of stuff. The girls is more of ball control and longer rallies typically with that. But
so this is indoor, and so you've got six players on the team on each side of the net. Is there outdoor as well? Do you ever get involved in that?
There's beach volleyball here. There's leagues down at Silver Beach. I used to play in them a long time ago when I was more involved in playing myself. Don't get that opportunity as much anymore when you have kids. You have to obviously divulge more time into what they're into.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
Okay.
One just graduated college.
Congratulations. That's great.
She went to Lake Superior State to play volleyball.
Okay.
And then I have a sophomore at St. Joe High School.
Very nice. And you have plans for them to play volleyball as well?
My son did play last year on the club team. I believe he's going to try and play again this year. But he's more of a soccer guy.
Okay.
Soccer's his main sport.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. All right. We're talking with Paul Kelm, and we'll come back to this conversation in just a couple of moments about volleyball. We do have some messages to get through here on the radio. I will have my Moody on the Market update in a couple of minutes. All right. Yeah, you mentioned COVID a couple of times on what kind of impact that had on you couldn't play volleyball at the time.
Nope, couldn't do a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, couldn't do a whole lot of anything. But I mean, what does that do? What does that do for a thinking about the girls' varsity program that you had? What does that do for a varsity program when you can't get together and play?
Well, we We actually somehow got around that. We ended up investing money into some outdoor nets.
Okay.
And we ended up practicing at Upton Middle School on the football field.
Nice.
Where we were out in the open.
Okay.
We still wore masks, but
Yeah.
at least it wasn't in a contained gym environment per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah.
And then we sanitized the balls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
on
you
top
followed
of
all the protocol, but you found a way to do it.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Okay. So you kept the team in shape.
Correct.
Very nice. All right. We'll be back in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Local, from the convenience of your home or smartphone.
Visit bigdealssouthwestmichigan.com.
A few flurries today, but otherwise becoming mostly sunny, and it will be bright but still really cold. High temperatures near 18. Tonight we drop down to 12. We'll see clouds and a chance of snow overnight, and some snow tomorrow as well. High temperatures getting back up around 33 degrees. We'll be in the mid-30s on Friday. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. It's 7:45. We've got the Moody on the Market update coming up, and let's do it right now. Moody on the Market update is brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And during the Moody on the Market update, we talk with interesting people you should know, and we talk about life in Southwest Michigan and why we love it here. And we also talk about business updates. But I think this interview with Paul Kelm from the St. Joseph High School volleyball program covers a couple of those buckets very nicely, because you've got the clinic coming up. You've got a successful volleyball team with the girls varsity volleyball team already. You've got the boys club, which is going to be varsity starting next year. And you've got the Michigan State men's volleyball clinic coming up on Saturday, February 8th. So let's talk a little bit about that right now. Again, that's going to be at the St. Joseph High School field house. For people who don't know, it costs $35 per person, but it includes a 2-hour clinic with head coach Sante Pirelli and the MSU men's volleyball team. I mean, a 2-hour clinic, that's kind of cool. A free pass for that night's men's volleyball match between MSU and Notre Dame, and an MSU versus Notre Dame men's volleyball t-shirt. So you can register in advance. It's not necessary that you register, but the benefit of registering is, Paul?
If you register by the deadline, obviously that guarantees you a t-shirt. You can obviously register all the way up to that day of, just show up and walk in and do it there. We just obviously can't guarantee you're going to get a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just because it takes, a week and a half or so to get t-shirts.
If you're like me, you want the t-shirt. So register early.
For sure. I mean, you're paying for it in a sense, so why not?
Do you have an idea of when the t-shirt number needs to be in?
Well, January 27th is I think our cutoff.
That's your cutoff for that. Okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna take pieces of this interview. We're gonna turn it into a news story. We'll post it later today at WSJM.com, and we'll put the link on how to register. Again, full registration received by January 27th to guarantee a free t-shirt. Okay. Good. I like that. So we were talking just a few moments ago about how the St. Joseph boys varsity volleyball team, when they start next year, they're kind of at this point going to be alone as far as Southwest Michigan goes for a varsity team.
It appears that way. Like I said, there hasn't been any teams locally that look like they're really
any
pushing.
Challenges you want to put out there? Lakeshore.
I mean, I actually did have a conversation with somebody I thought that may be interested in coaching a boys team there, but it kind of fell through because she said she had like 3 or 4 boys interested.
Okay.
But nothing came to fruition there.
Yeah, they've got a lot of students there. I bet Lakeshore could field a team if they could.
They certainly could. I think it's just, again, partly getting somebody committed to wanting to coach it and just getting the word out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably more the hard thing than anything, is just getting a coach that wants to do it.
Yeah. Okay. What about Benton Harbor, Niles? Any of those?
Niles, I believe, has got a decent shot. I talked to their coach, and he's trying to push for something there as well.
Okay.
And he was a newer coach last year, so he's obviously not as familiar with a lot of the kids there, but it may take him a year, but maybe by next year they can hopefully get something there.
So in the meantime, St. Joseph will have an opportunity to get a lot of road mileage in.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be beneficial for us because we're going to be obviously a couple steps ahead of any of these newer schools that do potentially come involved, just because we've had it, we've got some, I guess, foundation built for training and technical stuff. So we got at least that part. We'd be ahead of schedule on everybody else on around here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What else do we need to know? Anything else about the volleyball program that's coming up at St. Joseph?
Just hey, if you enjoy volleyball, or if you have kids that potentially are looking for getting involved into a sport, I mean, come out and try the clinic. Give an opportunity to maybe try something new, or if they're already involved, it's another opportunity to grow your potential. And obviously, come out and watch a really fun, entertaining match between Michigan State and Notre Dame. If you've never watched a men's volleyball match before, it is definitely different than a women's. So give it a shot.
Very cool. All right. It's coming up Saturday, February 8th at St. Joseph High School Fieldhouse, the Michigan State Men's Volleyball Clinic. Paul Kelm is here. He's got more information if you need it. We'll post a news story later today at WSJM.com with all the information that you need on that. And then we're going to wish you well for this season. You're still going to be a club. Do you know when your first game is?
Generally, it's after spring break.
Okay.
When we come back, but I know last year I do believe we did do a quad like right before spring break. So the schedule is not out yet, so I don't really 100% know yet. It kind of falls under waiting to see how many teams are involved before that part's a little bit different than the MHSA, because by now you'd already have your schedule set for the year. Club, you kind of waiting to see how many teams are involved, and then after you know that number, because I think the deadline to register is February 1st. For the club. So after that, like middle of February, we'll probably know our schedule.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye on that and bring updates as they become available. That is our Moody on the Market update today. I promised you that I'd get you out of here before 7:55. It's the Moody on the Market update. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. We've got more from the WSJM Morning Show coming up next.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sun.
All right, let's say a quick goodbye to the folks on the video live stream. Paul's got to run kids around to school, so thank you for joining us this morning. Anything else you want to get out today?
No.
That's it?
That's pretty much
you
all
want,
I got.
You want to give a quick plug for your company, Kelm Construction?
Kelm Construction. If you need a remodel done, give me a holler. I'd love to see what we can do to help you out.
Kelm Construction, KELM. And you specialize on home renovation?
Remodeling is probably predominantly what I do the most of. Kitchens, bathrooms, basements, windows, doors, trim.
You have social media? You ever think about doing a DIY show?
No, it's tempting, but
you ever watch those shows?
Once in a while. I don't get into those a lot because
it's like watching
some
work.
Of those things.
They don't really happen that way? Is that what you're saying?
Some of the things don't really go down that way most of the time. So.
No, I love the ones without the happy ending, the reality shows. No, every now and again, you do see the DIY folks who are caught up in a lawsuit here or there. So anyway, knock on wood, good luck with them. Thanks. All right. Well, thank you, Paul. We appreciate you coming in today. We're going to bid adieu on the video live stream. If you need anything else for the volleyball program, either girls or boys, let us know. All right.
Will do.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Thank you for watching on the video live stream. We'll be back tomorrow. And then also Friday, Mike Weibel, our co-host Mike Weibel, is going to be out, unfortunately. And so I've asked Brett Witkowski to come back in on Friday. So he's going to be joining us on Friday. So, all right. Friday is coming up. It's after tomorrow, Thursday. Tomorrow, Thursday, in fact, we have Lieutenant Jeremy Carlisle. Lieutenant General. Well, anyway, the head of the Michigan State Police for the 5th District of Michigan is coming in here tomorrow, the studios, to join us. So if you have questions for him, let us know right here on the WSJM Morning Show. See you tomorrow.